Harriet Tubman was born into an enslaved life with the odds stacked against her. But she didn't want to accept this fate, and she didn't want any other slave to accept it either. She became a leader for all slaves, leading them to their freedom. She carried many qualities as a leader that helped her leadership carry her through her missions. She had faith in her purpose and in her goals. She was very organized with her planning and her team building. She was selfless, always putting others in front of herself. And she was a very strong motivator, even to those with little motivation for themselves. And she was fearless, even when it became dangerous. Harriet Tubman was born as a slave in 1822 in Dorchester, Maryland. Even as a child, the abuse began, and it became a regular occurrence that left her with permanent scars. But each blow she took fueled her fire to want to be free someday and to not want any more slaves to have to go through this. When she was young, she witnessed 3 of her brothers be taken away and sold to a different slave owner, splitting up the family. Later on, she saw her mother stand up to a different slave owner who was trying to take her youngest sister. Her mother resisted and was courageous even when she was facing a punishment. She was inspired by this, and this fueled her own ambitions to protect her family and bring them to freedom someday. At 12 years old, she stood up for a slave who had left his plantation. When the overseer had caught the boy, she stood between them because she did not want him to get punished. When the overseer saw this resistance, he threw a 2-pound weight at her head, and this caused her permanent brain damage that caused narcolepsy and headaches for the rest of her life. She could have easily taken this injury as a means to quit resisting the life that she was in, but instead she used this as fuel and motivation to want her own freedom and to not settle for this life and not let any other slave settle for it either. Over her childhood, events like these helped shape her motivation and her purpose. She began organizing a plan to escape and becoming more fearless in the face of danger. When she was 27, her slave owner died, and her 2 brothers were about to be split up. She saw this opportunity as the time to escape. So she convinced and motivated her 2 brothers to come with her on a journey through the Underground Railroad to the north to the Free States. Unfortunately, on their journey, the 2 brothers began to doubt and be filled with fear and ended up returning to the plantation. But she was not going to quit. She pushed herself to reach the line in Philadelphia and cross it, gaining her freedom. But as soon as she crossed that line, instead of taking her life into her own hands and starting a new life for herself, she thought of all of the other slaves that she wanted to have the same freedom and gain the same rights that she had just gotten. She was selfless immediately and always put the passengers in mind. She used her position of being a slave to help bring light to and understanding to the lives of the slaves and let them know that they deserved more and that they could have a better life if they were fearless and if they were resistant. She took her first trip in 1850 to save her sister and took a total of 19 total round trips with an organized plan from the south to the north using the Underground Railroad. She saved 300 slaves. Over all of the trips, she remained faithful in her purpose and in her journey. She remained fearless through all of the trials, even putting her life on the line every single day. She remained selfless, putting her freedom below those of the passengers with her. And she was motivating to all of them whenever they had doubts and did not even believe in themselves. Even after she saved all of those lives through the Underground Railroad, she wanted to continue her work and continue saving lives. So she joined the Union Army in the Civil War, and she acted as a nurse, saving lives through health, as well as becoming the very first woman to ever plan and lead an expedition in war. The expedition that she led saved 700 slaves in South Carolina. She was paid so little during her service in the Army that she had to have a side job to financially support her to continue serving in war. She was not doing any of these acts for herself. She was doing all of them to save lives and to benefit those and add value to other people's lives. After the war, she continued her service. She bought a piece of land in Auburn, New York, where she cared and nursed her elderly parents and used as a safe haven for her friends and her family to find safety in. She was giving to the very end of her life, even when she had little to no resources left to give. Harriet Tubman offers examples of how leadership can be properly carried out. You must have a goal in mind that is for the greater good of more than yourself. It needs to benefit all of those around you. As a leader, you should use your position to motivate and empower those to believe in themselves and their purpose as much as you do, even whenever they have no faith for themselves. You must be selfless as a leader. You must be motivated and driven. You must be fearless in the face of doubt, in the face of trials. You must be organized with your planning, and you must have a reliable team to back you up. I believe a good leader is one who finds a team with a common goal in mind, that can be motivated to be as passionate and as faithful in the purpose as you are. A good leader will put themselves on the line in order for their team to succeed. A good leader makes their intentions clear and proves these intentions through their actions. A good leader organizes a well thought out plan that is flexible to circumstances changing, but is strong enough to accomplish all of the goals that it needs to. A great leader uses his power and position to serve those around him.